Today we're going to touch on social media and mental health and how social media could sometimes, it literally can consume us.
About 2.5 hours of our day. And that's not you being on social media for like 2.5 hours straight, but it's like, it's constant need of like, let me check my phone. But the first thing you do is go on Instagram. First thing you do is go on TikTok. How many times have you picked up your phone and instead of like texting back to someone for business wise, you go on social media?
So here's my daily average. Man, this is kind of embarrassing. So in a week, daily average is 7 hours and 21 minutes.
That's a long time.
I find myself sometimes, I'm like, geez, I'm like, why do I keep checking my freaking phone, man? And I finally just turned it off. I turned it off. What the heck am I doing? All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Offbeat Podcast. I'm your host, Jorge Ambriz, and today, Darlene, aka Didi, joins me back once again.
I'm so happy to be here again. It's been a while, maybe like 2 months.
Has it?
Yeah, because I think the last time I saw you guys was like February. Early February, maybe late January. I'm excited.
So a lot has happened. A lot. I know you've had a lot going on.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a lot going on too. Which is why we haven't really been releasing episodes as much. We been busy doing different things. But today's topic, it's funny because we're literally on a platform, talking about this. So it's kind of funny, but social media, man. And today we're going to touch on social media and mental health and how social media could sometimes, it literally can consume us.
It really
right?
can. It takes up about 2.5 hours of our day. And that's not you being on social media for like 2.5 hours straight, but it's like, it's constant need of like, let me check my phone. But the first thing you do is go on Instagram. First thing you do is go on TikTok. How many times have you picked up your phone and instead of like texting back someone for business wise, you go on social media?
Yeah, that's so true, man. I mean, just like, I'm curious, like how much, I think, doesn't it tell you like how much time you spend?
Yeah, I think so.
On social media?
And it even gives you like a time limit of like, it gives you a time limit so you don't have to be on social media anymore.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Where'd you go?
I'm so bad.
Screen time.
So
where's it go?
So here's my daily average. Man, this is kind of embarrassing. Man. So in a week. So daily average is 7 hours and 21 minutes.
That's a long time.
Dang. So 16 hours and 19 minutes in the week have been dedicated to messages, which, I mean, that's understandable because I've been on text a lot because, tax last week was like the last week of tax season, right before the 15th. So then Instagram, 7 hours and 45 minutes. In my calculator, I was in there for 2 hours and 25 minutes. YouTube, listening, streaming, 59 minutes. Okay, this is where it's kind of sad. In my Bible, only 49 minutes.
Okay, we're going to touch on that too.
All right, God.
We'll touch
I'm
on
sorry, Lord. In my mail, I've spent 45 minutes going through my mail. 27 minutes on my calendar. 27 minutes browsing the internet, Safari, 19 minutes on TikTok. It's not too bad. I'm not too much on TikTok. Usually I just go on TikTok to post.
Yeah.
I'll usually just go throw the post on there. Phone, also, I'm really bad on answering phone. I'm usually on Do Not Disturb, but in phone calls, just 13 minutes last week. So... But my biggest ones are my text messages and my Instagram. Man. Dun, dun, dun.
Do we have that here?
It's somewhere around there.
somewhere.
Or is it this? Let's do this one. No, I don't know.
No.
It's the air horn. I don't know.
I actually didn't have mine. I didn't have mine set up. I just set it up right now, so we'll find out.
Oh, okay. You didn't have. You cheated. No, just kidding.
I didn't know you could turn it off, but it was off apparently.
Okay.
But I haven't really been on social media. I haven't really been using my phone, so I'm pretty sure it might be messages. I've been on FaceTime a lot with my friends, and what else? An app I use to contact my clients. So that's how it's been so far. But I did used to spend a lot of time on Instagram. Like the first thing I did in the morning was pick up my phone and go on Instagram.
Guilty.
Since I haven't really been on Instagram, I've learned to like pick up my devotional or Bible in the morning, and that's what I was saying too. Like some people would go on Instagram instead of picking up the Bible or going on a Bible app. Like I wonder why.
You know what? I think it's just we're entertainment driven. You know, I think we like it. We like the cheese man. You know, we like the what's going on. We like what's happening. You know, and social media has kind of been like it's we've made it part of our lives. You know, we've made it part of our lives. Like it's how we share with people. It's how we keep track of people, our friends, our family. You know, but yeah, I think it can be so consuming sometimes. I find myself sometimes I'm like, geez, I want to just, you know, I'm with my phone and I'm like when was it? Like 2 days ago, I'm like, why do I keep checking my freaking phone, man? And I finally like just turned it off. I turned it off, and I remember laying down. I think that was one of the nights that I went to sleep kind of early, because I was just like, man, like, because literally like I was watching a series on Netflix. I was just trying to rest. You know, tax season really took a toll on me this tax season, a big time. And I was just so tired and mentally drained, and I just wanted to relax. But I kept finding myself like, opening it and then going, and I'm finding like, what the heck am I doing? Like, why do I keep checking? Like, I'm not getting notifications. It's not because like I'm like hearing it ring or anything. It literally is a habit.
It really is a habit. It's like on your downtime, what's the first thing you want to do? Is just pick up my phone. Like, what's going on my phone? Even if you don't have any messages, it's just like a urge. Like,
it's
to
like
pick up your
phone. Yeah, it really is. So I guess what we kind of want to touch on, of course, we're not demonizing social media. That's not our goal. Like, we're not trying to. I feel like we'd be hypocritical if we were. You know, of course, we're a platform that is predominantly, which is on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, any platform, we try to put ourselves out there, obviously, so we can't say, oh, social media is evil, social media is bad. But when it comes to mental health, what are some of the things that maybe we can touch on today that it's like, man, you know what? When it comes to mental health and social media, here are some red flags, or here's some things that we can do to kind of make sure we're not neglecting our mental health by being so consumed or being so caught up with social media.
I first want to talk about, I don't know if this is mental health, but I think it could lead to mental health, is the quality of sleep. When you're exposed to blue light,
big time.
When you're exposed to blue light, especially at nighttime, it does decrease your quality of sleep. So it's recommended, like, before you go to bed, maybe put your phone away at least an hour before you plan on going to sleep. Another thing is that social media, it opens the door to like comparison. We're constantly comparing ourselves to other, like, who has the body, who has the relationship, who has the baby, who has a career, who's making the money. And it kind of robs us of the uniqueness of our own journey, our own fitness journey, our own relationship journey, our own career journey. Like, we're not enjoying our own lives because we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people.
That's true. Yeah. And I like that first topic because, it does have a lot to do with mental health, because the way we sleep, and the quality of our sleep really does determine like our next day. It can either set us up to have a good day where we're rested, mentally, physically, spiritually, right? But, if we deprive ourselves of that rest, then yeah, man, sometimes I know I'm guilty of that, where sometimes I think I'm good at putting my phone away right before bed, where that half hour, that hour leading up to where I'm going to fall asleep, I feel like I'm good at like putting my phone away and not touching it. I usually use the TV to help me wind down, you know, just kind of hear something in the background. And I usually knock out. Like I don't have trouble knocking out or going to sleep or staying asleep. But I have noticed in moments when I am on my phone more than usual that day, like it really is hard for me to wind down because I am thinking about what I have to respond to or what I saw or this, you know, and so it does make it difficult sometimes to like kind of forget about that. Or I'm like thinking about, man, I got to respond to this in the morning, or I got to respond to that message or this or that, you know, I got to get to this project or something. So it kind of does mentally drain you in a way, like, and in a way, like it does kind of set you up to not have such a good day, possibly the next day.
Yeah. I mean, you're a business owner, you own, like, you have your, I guess, an independent contractor. What would you call yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like an independent contractor. Like you are constantly working on your phone. That's like your life, but maybe
Yeah.
setting like time limits, like, okay, I don't know if you do that already, but just putting your phone away to spend time with your family. Like you do that with your sons and your daughter. So setting time limits for yourself. And I do recommend that we all set time limits on ourselves because our kids do need that time with us. My daughter is really good at letting me know. I'm like, hey, Mom, give me attention. Like if she sees that I'm scrolling, she'll let me know to put my phone down. But it does decrease your quality of sleep. Especially, I think it's just mostly like the blue light as well. But I think for you, it's like because you're a businessman, you're constantly using your phone to talk to clients and just people in general. And like you said, it kind of just makes you just want to constantly check your phone, and you're always alert, always awake, and like waiting for the next person to text you and thinking that you always got to respond to somebody. But setting your boundaries, let your clients know, hey, by 6 p.m., I'm not on my phone anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and then there's things like it's usually my fault, you know, it really is, because I get this this urge to like it's hard for me to leave things. Like I was we're talking the other day at Life Group, you know, and I'm like, man, what gets to me is like seeing the notifications. You know, like on messages, like if like my phone's pretty clean, like it's except for my mail. My email, like it's all over the place. But everything else, like I try to keep it clean. Like I don't like to see that there's voicemails or that there's missed calls or that there's messages pending. I freak out. Like not freak out, but I get like all antsy and I'm like, no, I don't like to, you know, because I just feel that in my mind, I tell myself, you know what, like if I don't respond to this now, it's just going to be something extra that I got to do the next day. But without realizing that by doing that, it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy because then it's never going to stop. Like you're always going to have people trying to reach out. You're always going to you're always going to have things pending. But it's, for me, I think it is learning how to compartmentalize and be like, okay, yeah, at this time I'm done. You know, I don't even have to let anyone know. Like by this time though, I'm done. Like I don't have to reply. I can get to it the next day, and then being at peace with that. You know, that's the hard part for me.
It sounds like you got to set boundaries with yourself.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's more myself.
You versus you.
Yeah, it really is. Like she even like, I mean, we're the same sometimes. Sometimes Jeanette tries to call me out like that. I'm like, girl, you're on the phone too. You know, like,
but I admit I'm on my phone, but I can put mine on.
yeah, but sometimes we do like, and every now and then I will purposely shut down my phone like I did the other day. There's times where we've been on date nights and I've left my phone in the car. Like I'll leave it in the car purposely. You know, and then this Saturday I did my best. Like we went to go shoot a wedding.
Yeah, that was kind of a fail at
yeah,
the day. I'm like, yeah, no.
I failed a little bit. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was,
because it distracted you for the rest of the day. Like,
yeah.
it did, like,
Yeah, it's because like the goal, this was the goal. So we went to go shoot a wedding. It was an all day thing. And she's like, babe, like seriously, like no phone, like no tax clients, like nothing. Like if they have questions or something, just let it go and then answer them the next day or whenever you get to them. And I was like, okay, you know. And I was doing good. I was doing good, but my uncle called me. It was one of my uncles. And so I thought it was for something else. And I kind of knew, I kind of knew, like, but I'm like, let me see, maybe it's not, you know. So I talked to him. It had been a while since I talked to him, and so yeah, we started talking. But then yeah, boom, the question came. It's like, oh, you know, you do taxes. I have some questions. And then after that, I just kind of felt like I just opened the door up, and then other clients started texting and like asking questions and things like that. And instead of just ignoring it and leaving it in my pocket, I fell victim. I'm a victim. No, just kidding.
I'm a victim.
No, but yeah, I failed.
It's hard.
It did because I was actually gonna bring that up to him too. I'm like, you know what? Like you kind of missed some shots, bro. Like that you could have gotten. But, you did it.
Yeah. Well, recently you did a social media fast, right?
I do it every once in a while. Remember I told you I tried doing it every couple of days or so, but I did like a 1 week social media fast, and it was really good because I'm also doing the Daniel fast right now. It's something you're supposed to keep a secret, but I wanted to explain it, why I did the social media. I'm still kind of doing social media, but I'll explain. Because I want to hear God's voice. So social media gives you like 20 different opinions within 5 seconds if you're scrolling. And it was really like getting to me to where like, I don't know what to do with my situation right now. I don't know what to do during my waiting season. Like there's so many opinions on social media. So I decided to like really step away from social media and just pray to God. And I want God to direct me, not social media. I don't want posts on social media to direct me.
Well, that's good. I like that because I heard that one. I think it was Lecrae. He kind of touched on that, and I like what he was saying. Don't quote me word for word, but it was along those lines. He says that a lot of times we miss what God is trying to really speak to us because we have a lot of people speaking good things. You know, they're not bad, but a lot of good things. But a lot of times they don't pertain to what we're going through. And we can't, when it comes to a relationship with God, it truly is personal. It really is. You know, what God wants to do in our life, might not apply to what other people are going through or maybe sharing about at that moment, like an example of let's say, like a friendship, right? Maybe you hear a voice, speaking about how they had to let go of certain friendships, right? But maybe the context of why they had to leave certain friendships is different than, maybe what you're going through in that moment. But because sometimes we're in our feelings, sometimes we're going through a situation that may seem similar. We hear that and we're like, yeah, you know what? That is the answer. I gotta cut these friendships off, but maybe the context of your story, of our story, right, isn't the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, as Christians, like, we do have to be careful to not be so consumed, with the opinions of what we're consuming in social media. And we always want to make sure that we do go to the source, which is God's word and God's presence.
I'm glad you touched on that because I was going through a season, I shared with you guys, I shared with multiple people what I was going through. And I felt like everyone was giving me an opinion. And then I'll go on social media and I saw 10,000 more opinions. And I'm just like, okay, I really needed to pause because I was getting anxious. I was having anxiety attacks. I was spending like a whole week barely sleeping. A part of it was because I was scrolling on social media, but I was really anxious, and that's what called me to start fasting because I was like, I just want to cut off the world. I don't want to go to someone for their opinion. It's one thing to want to seek counsel, wise counsel from more mature Christians. But at this season, I was like, I need to hear from God. I need to know what God's telling me because we do share our own experiences onto others. And it's not to say that our testimonies are worthless, but sometimes our testimonies don't always apply onto other people. Like you said, and I think I saw what you were talking about with Lecrae. because when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, it happens, and we've all fallen, to that. I've fallen victim to that too, and it's so easy to do that, and but that's why it really does come down to us building, like, I think the priority is, before building a social media platform, we have to build our foundation with Christ. And it's cool because right now our church is in a series right now of, building on the foundation. And last week, man, he taught a really good message about our beliefs and our values, like what we believe, but at the end of the day, what we value. So we can believe a set of beliefs and all these different things, but our values is what is going to actually tell us how to walk. We can believe all kinds of things, but walk differently,
I like
and
that.
and a lot of times, like, that comes from a personal godly relationship,
Mhm.
and I think Jesus was so good at that. I think if when we read the Gospels, Jesus was a perfect example of, the fasting example, when he went 40 days and 40 nights. He had just gotten baptized right before. He had gotten baptized, and everyone saw, the Holy Spirit come down upon him. And a lot of people say that that was the start of his ministry. That's when but before that, like, he had to go through the desert. He had to go 40 days and 40 nights and get tempted and go through what he went through. And I think part of why he had to do that was because he had to get away from the noise. Because even though Jesus was 100% God, he was also 100% human.
Mhm.
And so he knew, like, the crowds, I can already imagine, like, the crowds, yeah, Jesus, yeah, the Messiah, yeah, like, and everyone was probably excited because their Messiah was there, and they got to witness something great. But I believe that Jesus knew he had to go through this because he couldn't be consumed by the opinions and by the cheers of others. He had to be centered in his relationship with the Father. He had to be centered on his mission for humanity. And I think there's a lot we can learn from that, is because in this era of social media, it's the same way. Like, we can live by the cheers of people, or the criticism of people, or the opinions, and all these different things, and they can literally feed into us,
Mhm.
and they can literally begin to mold us, without us even knowing. And it begins to shape our minds and our thoughts, our opinions. It can even begin to sway our belief system. And then as our belief system begins to sway, we start losing sight of what we truly value.
Yeah.
You know?
Me and Jeanette were talking about this. I don't know if she wanted to talk about it, but
She's got the mic
we were
right
kind
there.
of feeling like a little intimidated, or I don't know if it was intimidation was the word, but like I'm gonna use it for myself, like feeling slightly intimidated to speak about Christ, to speak about being Christian, because we don't want to steer away like a wider audience, because think about it, not everybody's Christian in the United States or in the world.
Mm-hmm.
People might not even want to do business with you just because you're Christian.
Yeah.
And that's, it's kind of sad, but I think that's the worldly part of us, like thinking like, oh, I'm losing out on money because I'm I'm talking about being Christian.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be joyful. I'm trying to share my religion with everyone else. But I think that's like the worldly side. Like, we don't want to
Yeah.
think worldly. Like, we want to think more Christ-like and just trust that God is going to provide for us either way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Or in this situation with social media, like, are we going to lose followers?
Followers too.
Are we going to lose followers? Are we going to lose subscribers? Are we going to lose? And that can really get into the head, of social media content creators and people who are on social media. We can begin to, again, like, it can really sway our sets of beliefs and begin to, like, things that we've believed in for years, all of a sudden, like, no, you know what? I don't think I believe that as much. And then little by little, it can start to eat into our value systems.
Mhm.
And what we value is, what we should value is, first things first is, we should value, we should value the relationship with Christ over everything, over the opinions of people, over the opinions of social media. We should value who Christ is in our life,
Yeah.
and it's very hard to do when we're not spending time with him.
I agree. Well, first, I want to say when we start to have fear of losing money or losing followers or losing an audience of people, I think the first thing you should do to change the narrative is like, hey, this could really have someone turn to Christ, to encourage someone to go to Christ because they see the joy of having the Lord's love in you.
Yeah.
I have friends who recently become like more. They're not telling me they want to go to church, but they I think they are saying they have more of like a curiosity
Yeah.
of what it is that I'm experiencing, a curiosity of like how to cure their anxiety. They're kind of showing praise because I've been more joyful lately. They're seeing God work in my life, so they're kind of like showing a little bit of curiosity. Like hopefully
Yeah.
that turns into them coming with me to church. Like
Yeah.
it's a domino effect when you start to speak about Christ. Like it makes
Yeah.
other people want to speak about it and experience that joy.
Yeah. No, yeah. And a lot of I'm a big believer, like when it comes to mental health, I love and I enjoy pointing out the issues. I do. Like I like to bring awareness to the issues surrounding mental health and everything. But at the end of the day, like I'm still a firm believer that, the answers to our mental health problems, a lot of it does come you know, from us. Well, let me say this. A lot of the problems that we do go through emotionally, mentally, let let's be real, like it does come from a place of sin.
Yeah.
It really does, and it's not to condemn, and it's not to say that one is, we're better or this, but the truth is I say it because of my own life.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the biggest storms that I've caused myself has been because of the sins I've committed.
I can relate.
It really has, and that's why I'll be the first to say, that a lot of the root causes of my mental health, like, yes, it's from childhood trauma. Yes, it's from different things that happened to me as a child that I can recognize, that I'm more aware of now. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take away from the decisions that George made.
Yeah.
George made certain decisions. And because George made those decisions, like they say, sometimes the storm comes to us and sometimes we create the storm.
Yeah.
And I've created a lot of storms, I've created so many storms. And that's why it's easy to take on the world's opinion and to, kind of patch that, be like, no, George, it's okay. Like you got a whole group of people agreeing that you're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's like, no, I don't want their opinions. Like I appreciate those opinions maybe, but at the end of the day, like I have to be in communication with God. Like I have to get close to God. And when I get close to God, I'm able to see, like, George, you got to realize something, that you created this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for you. I love you. I forgive you. My love is here. My mercy is here. My grace is here. But at the end of the day, you created this, because the consequences of sin are death, and maybe it's not a physical death, but something does die inside of us.
Yeah.
Thank
you for sharing. I could relate. I have, trauma and deal with anxiety and all that. And with trauma, with an environment that was very unpredictable, I suffer the sin of idolizing control. Because I always wanted to control everything. I wanted to control the outcome. I wanted to control people. It had me to be more to develop like manipulating characteristics because I wanted to control. And I think during this season right now, I'm learning to let go of control. And God's telling me, you don't have to take control. Allow for me to move. Like you can have the desires of your heart if you allow for me to take control.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Even after our episode of letting go, I was still trying to take control. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm worn down.
Yeah.
I'm on my knees. My clothes are ripped up. I'm like, I'm tired. Like, hey, God, this time for real.
Yeah.
I'll let go of control.
No, yeah. And those are the moments that really build our faith. Those are the moments that bring us closer to Christ. And those are the moments that are inevitable sometimes in our life. Like we really have to invite those moments, you know, even when we struggle with mental health, like we have to understand that it's not that God wants to keep us in a place where we're struggling with our mental health, but at the same time, we have to be open to what He wants to do, because again, like our process is different. Our process is, our journey is different. You know, it's going to look different for each and every single person. And so we have to be open to, God, what is it that you want to do in my life? You know, I'm struggling with these traumas. I'm struggling with these insecurities. But what does that mean, God? You know, and in light of what I'm going through, you know, what are you showing me? You know, what are you showing me through this? Is this really a moment that I have to cut people out of my life? Or is this just a moment to show me of the things I need to change? You know, because more than likely, that's what it is, you know? And I believe that's why Jesus went through the 40 days and 40 nights, you know, fasting, because God wanted to deal with the humanity,
Yeah.
you know? And I believe that God, He wants to deal with our humanity. He really does. You know, He wants to make us, build us to be spirit-led individuals that, like you said, that trust Him, that even in the process, even in the tough moments, even in the moments of not knowing what to do, but like you said, like even like I like what you said right now, like He knows the desires of our heart. Like He knows what we desire, but even getting close to Him, those desires might change, because He's like, I know the desire of your heart, but I know what's right for you.
Yeah.
I know that's what you like, but I know what's right for you. And by trusting Him and getting close to Him, those desires might change, you know, but we're afraid sometimes of those desires changing, because then it's like you said, it kind of gives us a way of control. Like, at least I can control this desire that I want, this desire of wanting to hold on, this desire of wanting to stay in this, you know, at least it feels like I have some sort of control. But when it's like God is saying, give it to me, you know, and it's like, you know, what if it changes?
Yeah.
But what if it doesn't?
Yeah.
You know, but I think that's where that's trust. That's trust. It's like letting go, like falling backwards and just trusting that God is going to catch us.
It's scary, but that's why we have to walk with faith and not sight, right?
Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot of boldness, a lot of discipline to walk by faith instead of sight. We don't always want to do it because we want proof. We're like always asking God, if this is what you want me to do, land a bird right in front of me, like something weird, like strike the lightning in broad daylight right in front of me, so I know that this is from you.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't want to like to test God in that way. Sometimes we just really need to fall on our faith and fall backwards, like you said. And I think, like, for me, I was struggling a little bit walking by faith because social media was giving me all these opinions, even like verses and stuff that I found on social media, or like it'll be like, if God wanted this for you to happen, this would happen. And it's just like, even that was misleading, because what if that didn't apply to me?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
So that's why I just, like, even now, like, I am back on Instagram, but I'm not scrolling anymore.
Yeah.
If I start to see like an opinion, I'm just like, I'm just gonna put my phone down, because right now I think I have a clear answer what God wants for me, and my desires are starting to change, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm not scrolling on social media anymore. I'm not comparing my life to someone else. I'm like allowing myself to have the uniqueness of my own journey right now.
Love it.
So.
Yeah, I love that. No, yeah, and I know, like, that's why you've been a little MIA and everything too. I know, so you're like, we haven't seen you in a while, but it's good though, because that's what it's about, you know. And it's about, we don't all have it together, you know. I don't have it together. None of us have it together, and sometimes we are gonna learn by trial and error, you know. But I think the biggest thing is that, like, I think sometimes what we go through, you know, as a believer, we can't be afraid. You know, I think that's one thing I really want to put out there, because I know that I've gone through moments where I'm like, man, God, like, so I'll be 100%. I'll be 100. Like, sometimes I'm scared of what God is doing, you know, because it is scary sometimes. It's not always exciting. It's not always like, yay, like, it's not always emotional. A lot of times things that God has gotten us through they've started messy.
Yeah.
It hasn't always been, and stories in the Bible constantly. And that's why we got to get in the Bible, because when we get into God's word, we're able to dig into people who are messy. We're able to look at characters in the Bible that didn't have it all together. But one thing that a lot of them do share in common is that they really desired to serve God, to want to be in his presence. And that always took them towards the right path. It wasn't that they had it together. It wasn't that they were smart. It wasn't that they were the best, most righteous people in the entire world. It was just simply that they wanted, like King David. King David was full of mistakes. But one thing that King David had was that he was a man after God's own heart. So he was a man that, despite of what he did, at the end of the day, he just didn't want to lose God's presence, and he would do anything that he could to just be in that presence of God. And I think we can learn from that.
Yeah.
Even in today's social media age, is regardless of where we're at, if we have a desire to go after God, like, that's what we need, is the same hunger that we share in wanting that social media. Like, imagine if we were to turn that hunger into pursuing God.
Yeah.
Like, imagine how our mornings would be, Like,
imagine how your day would be if you started your day with God, spending time with God, praying, asking God to guide you the rest of the day, instead of looking at social media like, let's see how social media is going to tell me how my day is going to look like. But like, your whole day could change just the way you start your morning, and spending it with God and letting God lead you. Yeah. Something else I wanted to touch, I think you kind of started like in this route. A lot of time we start to praise people who look like they got it together on social media. And I think I'm one of them. I will have people reach out to me and just kind of give me praise, and little that they know I'm crying while they're texting me all that. And I'm just like, I want to start to be really blunt and honest and just say I'm not perfect. Like, when we recorded the toxic episode, I was just like, I felt kind of hypocritical because I was learning to not be toxic myself. Like, I was still having these toxic behavior that I just didn't know how to deal with it. And now I've changed, complete 180. But there's times where I was preaching something and I'm struggling at that moment. Yeah. And people don't really know that because they only see what I'm posting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm glad you touch on that, because that's really important for us to be able to communicate that. That's always been our vision here, is to be real, to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to have conversations, and not because we have it together, but because our desire is to, like, say, hey, we know what you're going through, because we're going through it. Mm-hmm. We know what a toxic relationship looks like because we've created toxic relationships. Like, we know what you struggle with mentally because we know what it is to struggle mentally. We know how it is to go through a depression because we've gone through depression. We know what it is to, like, yell at your kids because you're so frustrated, because we yell at our kids when we're frustrated. Like, it's not because we have it together. And that's why, like, some of my most favorite pages, honestly, that I follow on social media are the ones that are vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, I follow a few dad pages and parenting pages. And honestly, I love them because they do, like, they really touch on things that, it's like, it just gives you not so much the guidance, but it gives you, like, that, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one wanting to pull my hair. Yeah. Like, I'm not the only one, like, going crazy with my kids. Like, I'm not the only one. So, and that's the kind of content we want to do, is like, it's like, no, we don't got it together. Like, no, we don't have perfect relationships. No, we don't have perfect marriages. No, we don't have perfect church lives. Like, no, we like none of that. But at the end of the day, though, like, we have to understand that what we try to idolize on social media, be careful. Be careful idolizing on social media, because you can fall into a trap, I just got done talking to a young man that came. He was here earlier. We're, like, teaching him about the camera. and you know, he was sharing a testimony of his friend that used to be he used to travel with a famous singing group, you know, and he said that he would live this glamorous life on tour, and that literally when he would come back home, he was sleeping in front of a Denny's.
Oh wow.
Yeah. You know, and it's like, yeah, like that's the reality sometimes. Like sometimes, like, that's why our identities in Christ is so important. And that's why, like, the best identity that you will always find is in your creator, is in your maker, is in Christ. Because if you allow social media to create an identity of what you want to be, man, like you have no idea. A lot of these people, man, like they're all show. It really is. Like they create a show and they know how to engage people.
Yeah.
They know how to get the views. They know how to get the likes. They know how to engage. But behind the scenes, you don't know.
Yeah. It's crazy because I recently came across like someone who was like a motivational speaker, and he seemed like he had it all together. But the moment he got rejected, because he tried to pursue me, the moment he got rejected, I saw like it wasn't through in person, but it was through text. I just saw a different version. This is not the person he was presenting himself to be.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Like you almost had a chance in the future if when I became open, but you just shut that door.
Yeah.
Because we can paint a picture of ourselves on social media. And I think we just, you know, I think God encourages us to test people's character, to ask for discernment for people, because we could really come off as like we got it together, or we have a different lifestyle than we really do have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. This is wrong. We're not in no famous studio. Literally, I turned a bedroom into a studio.
It looks nice.
And that's what we're doing here, man. You know, we're just trying to provide content for people, man, because that's all we want. You know, we really just want, we don't want to, hey, follow us. Like, look how cool it is to be this. No, we literally, like, I always say this, man, like Offbeat Podcast, it didn't start here in the studio. It didn't start behind the cameras. It didn't start behind microphones. Offbeat Podcast literally started in coffee shops. It started at our kitchen table. You know, it started at pho restaurants, eating pho with other couples, with other people. It started at, you know, coffee dates. It started at restaurants, eating ramen, right, babe? Like, that's where Offbeat Podcast started, where we just wanted, you know, we sat with people and we said, you know what? I remember one day I was talking to my wife and I'm like, you know what? We're talking to a couple. And I told her, I said, I want to make sure with you, but are you okay if we're vulnerable? Like, are you okay if because I feel the only way we're going to really help this couple is if we tell them 100% and we're vulnerable and we're transparent with what we've been through. And she's like, yeah, if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. And I remember, like, we did that and it just changed the whole mood. It changed the whole mood in the conversation. It changed their perspective because we were able to be transparent. And that's where Offbeat started. It started in those types of conversations, you know, because our desire was never to be like, you know, follow me, follow us, like do this and, you know, do that and you're going to be better. No, like we just want to film content, provide conversations, and to encourage people to do the same, to go behind coffee shops, to go to pho restaurants, to go to all these places and to build community with people, you know, because that's where healing starts. Yeah. Like you're not going to find healing. I'm sorry, but you're not going to be healed by a clip, you know, as much as we'd want to, but a clip isn't going to heal you. What's going to heal people is them actually going into community, getting the counseling, getting the therapy, going into these spaces, seeking God, seeking Christ, and seeking a community of other believers that are going to also build them up, that are going to hear them out, that are going to be vulnerable, transparent, but also be real with them. And, you know, and point out things that are, you know, hey, you need to change this. You need to get rid of this. You know, we need that. We need people that, and social media isn't the place for that. You know, community is the place for that. You know, one-on-ones, that's the place for it.
social media even encourages the toxic behavior sometimes. Do you see
Yeah.
posts where people are like proud to be toxic?
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? And you need those authentic conversations with couples, and I'm glad like you guys shared your stories with me as well. And I'm glad to hear that, because it also proves that, you know, you're human as well. You didn't get to this point in your relationship from one day to the next, you
Yeah.
know, like, and it allowed me to see that sometimes growth takes a long time. And right now I'm growing and healing on my own, and it was ugly. It's still ugly. It's not as ugly as before. It's kind of cleaning up a little bit, but it was really ugly. I was a really
Yeah.
ugly person. I was so unhappy. I didn't love myself. I'm crying. I didn't love myself. My love for the Lord wasn't like up there like how it is now. And now my love for the Lord is more. I love myself more. I love my family more. So
Yeah.
while I'm loving other people more, I feel like I could extend that arm to other people now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful, because the love of Christ, man, we can touch on so much, but the love of Christ, it truly, truly covers a multitude of sins.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we have this concept of when we relate sin, we always think that it's just to be judgmental. But the truth is, man, that sin hurts the heart of God.
Yeah.
And it's not that God hates us, it's that God hates the sin, because he knows what it does to us. He knows, that's one of the things I reflect on so much, is not so much the decisions that I've made, but how those decisions have affected me, have affected my family, have affected my thought process. And it takes me more and more to the understanding, like, God, I get it. I get it. It's not that it's being judgmental, but it's that you love us. You love us. You don't want us buried in that sin. That's why you want to save us from that sin. Because once we give up that sin, once we give up those burdens, then he's able to just overwhelm us with his love. And we're able to be free from what was imprisoning us. Because literally, like, we can become prisoners of our own thoughts,
Yeah.
of our own sins. We become prisoners of guilt, of shame, of insecurity, and it doesn't allow us to appreciate what's around us. Like you said, your family, your daughter, those that are around you, like, there's an appreciation. Why? Because you've let go. You've
Yeah.
let go, and you've let God.
Oh yeah. It's a game changer for sure. I've been practicing allowing God to speak to me, and like how to handle situations and how to go about my life and everyday life, and it's been a huge change. It's been helping me a lot. Another thing is that I think people are seeing it in me. Even though it's social media, and social media is not really much. Like, one of my friends from high school was like, "Oh, I see the holy glow." Like, I'm like, thank you. But like, I was still struggling at that time. But I know it's like, it's going to be something that's going to be forever thing, like
Yeah.
constantly changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. We got to learn I'm learning to fall in love with the process, even when it's painful, but we have to understand that there's like that song, babe, where he's like, even when I don't see that he's working.
Yeah.
I love that song because it's true. Even when I don't see that he's working.
Mm-hmm.
Waymaker, yeah.
Yeah.
He really does make a way, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, I think I don't know if it was the psalmist, I don't know if it was King David, but he wrote, like, better is a day in his presence than 1,000 days outside of it, and it's so true, man. Like, this morning, when I got up, after I got up and I got ready, I turned some worship music on, and I just started to pray. And one of our friends from Life Group yesterday brought up a song that I hadn't heard it in a while, the Lover of My Soul. It's like, Jesus, lover of my soul. And I hadn't heard that song in a good while. I was like an old school one. When I first got saved, they would play that song a lot. And I was just like meditating on the words, and man, I just started to really break, because it's like, yeah, God, like, you really did take me from the miry clay. Like, you really did put my feet on solid ground. Like if I'm able to walk on solid ground, it's because you put me there. I didn't bring myself out. I didn't pull myself from my own bootstrap. You know, I everything that I've been able to see and taste from you, been because of you, you know? So it's a beautiful place, man. So, but with that being said, we didn't want to go too long on this one. We just wanted to share a little bit like social media, taking care of yourself spiritually, physically, mentally, and allowing yourself to take breaks, right? Like being able to know your boundaries, being able to know like, okay, you got to take a break, you know? And I think, you know, Darlene has done that these past few months, you know, and we see it. I see it. I see the difference.
Thanks,
And
Dad.
you know, so but what's something that you'd like to share to close out?
To close out, social media is not all bad. For business owners, it's a great opportunity for you to expand your business and to reach a larger audience. But I would say, in the middle of using social media, don't compare yourself to others. Really appreciate your own journey, the uniqueness of your own journey. And also, it's okay to take a break from social media. Take like a day or two. And before you start your day, practice not picking up your phone. Practice picking up your Bible. If you have the Bible app on your phone, go on the Bible app. But I'll encourage you to just have a hard copy of the Bible so that you're not distracted and seeing all the notifications popping up. You got it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm gonna put some of that into practice. I'm not an example about you know, putting social media to the side. I've been bad. I read my stats to you guys earlier. That was full transparency right there. So, but it is something that I definitely want to work on too. I want to be better at that. And you know, one thing that we're trying, and we're gonna try to continue to try, and maybe a few business owners out there can relate to this, is, you know, for example, like a lot of the editing, I've been outsourcing a lot of my editing. So that's been helping me save screen time. And then also we're trying to go into the space of outsourcing our social media posts, you know, for other people to do it, you know, so that way we kind of step back, and because it is very consuming. It really is. And I want to be better at that. So hopefully, you know, next time we do an episode on this or something, I'll give you guys a cool update. But don't forget, you know, like she said, social media, it's not the devil. It's not demon. You know, there's a lot of crazy things on there, but there's also good, you know, so that's why it's like, I'm not going to demonize something that I use, you know, it's social media. It's there. We're on it. You know, we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of misusing it. We're all guilty of overusing it. But at the end of the day, for those who are Christ followers, for those that are in the church and you find yourself going too much to social media, we just want to encourage you. Let's do it together. You know, let's be aware of those things, and remember, our mental health, our spiritual health, and our physical health are top priorities. And if social media is taking you away from that, because social media could even take you away from gym time. You know, there's people that go to the gym and all they do is scroll. You know, they never lift a weight. They just scroll and scroll and scroll, you know, and then, but even mentally, you know, like if you find yourself in a state of comparison, if you find yourself comparing yourself to all these different people and trying to find and doubting yourself and all this, maybe it's time to take a break, you know, and get close to God and remember who you are in Him. So we just wanted to leave you guys with that. Thank you guys for tuning in. More episodes to come. This was Offbeat Podcast. Peace.